Good evening, everyone. How are you? This is Jeremy Webb. I am the Artistic Director of Neptune Theatre in Halifax. It's great to have you here. Thanks for being here. Or maybe you're watching it in the future. Hello, future. It's Thursday. It's 8:30. Off the Leash is our now weekly foray into chat and fun with members of the arts community. It's our way of staying in touch during the COVID-19 pandemic. I hope you are doing okay. I hope everyone you know is doing okay and is safe. For those of you that are familiar with the Nova Scotia theatre community, cast your minds back 18 years. And if you were a theatre goer back then, as I was, you would remember Shaheen Sayadi and Maggie Stewart starting a theatre company, starting a theatre essentially on Gottingen Street. This is before buses stopped at the bus stop. This is before 2B really knew whether they were to be or not to be for this long. This was back when Eastern Front had their front on the other side of the harbor in Dartmouth. This is a while ago. Those two innovative individuals came together. I think they met at Dalhousie. We'll find out more maybe in a minute. And they started One Light Theatre in what I understand to be the back of a grocery store on Gottingen Street called The Crib. And I did a little research, and I think they named it after, well, I think they had a newborn, and so there was a crib. That's all I know. They started producing theatre on Gottingen Street, and that company has gone on and on to great things, and it gave birth to a festival, the Prismatic Arts Festival, and I am very excited that tonight we welcome the artistic director of the festival. Raeesa Lalani is here. Please welcome Raeesa as I bring her into the studio right now. Hello.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. And before we get started, I just wanted to acknowledge that I'm joining you in Trektuk in Mi'kmaq, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. And I'm honored to work in these territories and to share in the cultural lives of residents of Mi'kmaq. And Jeremy, I have to say, you know your story pretty good. I think you kind of took the whole first part of the story out there. I'm so impressed with your research. Well, are you like a journalist or something? Or what was that?
I was around. I do remember going to a show in the Crib, more than one. And I remember the first time, I have a memory. I mean, this is 18 years ago. I hardly remember what I had for breakfast. But, you know, 18 years ago going in there, and it really was, you know, I seem to remember low ceilings and sort of going in and be like, well, this is a store. This is really cool. And, you know, it was, and I joked in my intro about it being before the bus stop. I hope my chronology is correct. So bus stop people, if I've just offended you, I'm 99% sure the bus stop came after the Crib. So, and of course now we have the Prismatic Festival as well, which you're the artistic director of. So it's continuing.
Did I lose you?
I accidentally got muted.
Oh.
That's a good thing.
For so long, and we still don't know the mutes and the unmutes.
Yeah, that's a good thing. I don't know how I did it, but I did it. So what I'm going to do is move my cursor. So tell us a little bit about those early days. I think it was before you were involved, but what can you tell us about those early days?
Even in Halifax, actually. But I think that is, you know, one of the most important things to note about the festival is to understand the origins and to understand the Prismatic story. As you said, you know, Prismatic was born and was a thought that came out of the back of a grocery store on Gottingen Street that Shaheen and Maggie started. And I think the really important message to note, and the reason that it started, was because Shaheen was at Dalhousie University, studied acting and a bunch of other different arts sector principles there. And when he graduated, There he is.
There he is.
There he is.
That's a great photo, Shaheen.
Oh, beautiful. So when he, graduated, he recognized, and, we'll get to the kind of the tough nitty gritty, but the truth of the matter. He recognized that as an artist of color, with, not a Canadian accent, that there was no place for him to perform as a professional artist here in Halifax.
Yeah.
And because of that, and the desire that he had to be a professional artist and the talent that he had that was not going to go to waste, he decided to take the matter into his own hands. And he said, you know what, if no one's going to program me, well, I'm going to start my own theater company. So he did, and they really did it. They didn't have a lot. They really did it with a lot of heart, with a lot of intent. And the way that it could happen was they got a grocery store. They, worked on that during the day. Maggie was in law school, studying to be a lawyer. And then they started a theater company in the back, in the crib. And you're right, they had just had their first beautiful child, Azat. She was born. And so the crib was kind of the piece in the middle. It was like grocery store, crib, theater. 36 metal seats just surrounding it. And the way that the name One Light kind of came to be, which is probably one of my favorite stories, is that they went to Canadian Tire, they bought one light, and that was the light that they used to put on their shows. And one of Shaheen's great friends, Jake from Halifax, he used to sit in the back, and he actually used to run the show for them with that one light.
Oh, wow.
And that's where the name One Light Theatre came. So that was, kind of the start of the legacy that Shaheen and Maggie have created, which I'm so honored to be a part of. And then from there were kind of two thoughts that came. So One Light Theatre had been established, and then there were a couple of thoughts that came from it. And one of those was the creation of the Ad Hoc Assembly. And the Ad Hoc Assembly addresses labor issues as a body dedicated to sustain forward movement of ethnocultural and socially diverse performance works, processes, and traditions. And the other thing that came out of it was the Prismatic Arts Festival. And this is awesome because it's very full circle, especially, us here together today with the news that we're going to talk about after, which is no secret, has been announced. But the Prismatic Arts Festival actually started at the Neptune Studio as a 2-hour program.
Right.
That was the first Prismatic Arts Festival. That was in 2008. So, that started, and then there was so much interest from artists, from stakeholders in the industry, from audience members, and that's how it started to grow and become bigger and bigger. And then it became its own separate entity and organization. So the Prismatic Arts Society, which is the Prismatic Arts Festival.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's an incredible origin story, and I think it really provides a lot of light, and it provides a lot of understanding to, it's a beautiful creation, but there was a need for it. And what did that look like, and what did that mean? And it really shapes kind of the work and who we are and what we do today still. Yeah.
That's an amazing story. And so it was only
there. I wish I got to go.
Right? I know. Well, I wasn't, I was an audience member, but the festival came really only 6 years later.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was, okay.
Yeah, the festival came I think it was, at first it was a need and a recognition for Shaheen for his own work, but then it was so much bigger and more than that, okay, you know what, he's established something for himself, but what about the rest of the Indigenous artists and artists of color? Where is that main stage for them to perform? So I think it kind of organically grew out of a self-need into okay, well, we need to identify that this is actually a need for a lot of other artists.
Yes. And as that festival grew, it's sort of grown now to the point where, could you explain the geography of the festival now, the actual sort of the home? Because I know that it has more than one home. It still happens here.
Yeah, I'm glad you're asking, because I definitely want to explain it all so people kind of understand, because I think that's really important. So for people who might not know, so Prismatic is an annual multidisciplinary festival that spotlights innovative work by Indigenous artists and artists of color from across Canada. And there are a few components that make it up. So it, as I said, it started in 2008 at Neptune Studio, and then it was biannual. And then it shifted to Alderney Landing. And it was at Alderney for 2 years in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. And it was, as it kept growing, there was a need to continue evolving the festival. So after it was at Alderney and Dartmouth, it became a boutique style festival around downtown Halifax. And those are such nice pictures from Alderney.
Yeah, thanks for sending them.
Yeah, of course. So that's from our 2014 festival.
Right.
And so, one of the big identifiers as well was what we do is to make sure that Indigenous artists and artists of color receive the best main stages that they can to perform on, provide those opportunities, give them the access to the best lighting to showcase their work. But as a multidisciplinary festival, each artist really needs different things to showcase their best work. So, one of the things was taking into consideration like a spoken word artist. Putting them on this grand Alderney stage doesn't do justice for their talent and for what they're performing. So that's where the concept and the idea of a boutique style festival came from. And so we started using multiple venues around downtown Halifax, still to make it accessible for audience and artists to get to and keep it close, in the festival format where there's a bunch of things going on in the schedule. But to really showcase the artist's work in the best light possible. Yeah. So as that happened, it kept expanding, which takes us to last year's festival. So we did have our 10-year anniversary in 2018 for Prismatic in Halifax. And then last year, there was another component of the festival to continue expanding it. So Prismatic was actually hosted in 2 cities, in Ottawa, Ontario, and in Halifax, Nova Scotia. And it was hosted in Ottawa because we expanded with another component of the festival, which was our International Arts Assembly. And what that was formatted into pitch and showcase sessions for Canadian artists, Indigenous artists, and artists of color to perform in front of key stakeholders in the industry from across the globe. So similar to the intention of why Prismatic came to be, well, now it's time to continue generating opportunities for these artists. And so I do have to give a shout out. I don't know if she's watching or not, but Maggie, our managing director, if she's watching, she did an incredible job of really networking and building community relations with people all around the globe. We had presenters from Italy, from Switzerland, from the United States, from the Lincoln Center in New York City, a bunch of different Canadian provinces. They all came together for the International Arts Assembly to see these Canadian artists. And, one of the big intentions for us being in Ottawa was to make sure that a bunch of Nova Scotian artists were presented at this assembly. And, just logistically, it did make sense to kind of have it more in central Canada and for us to see what it looks like having Prismatic in another city. It was a pilot project and it went super well. Probably, I think, one of the best festivals programming wise. So now shout out to Janine. One of the best programming I've ever seen. I sat stunned in multiple shows of just the talent that was on the stage. And we were housed at GCTC. So shout out to GCTC, Great Canadian Theatre Company. We, had access to their facilities and we got to expand and continue growing the national festival and really having that representation on a national scope.
Amazing. And you're also very aware of your audiences too, and an audience's needs. I read somewhere that you're looking at accessibility and inclusion for the audience to make sure that people with needs of some kind, the venues have to be accessible or should be accessible. That's obviously important to you.
Absolutely. I mean, I think we really pride ourselves on being leaders in the industry. And one of the big differences I found as well, even just in different cities, was Halifax traditionally does not have the greatest accessibility to venues in various capacities. And it's not, talking negatively about the city, but it's the reality. It is the way it is. So when we were in Ottawa and we were able to see, venues and the infrastructure of what it looks like when a venue actually takes into consideration all of these thoughts of various types of accessibility, whether it's, for someone living with a disability or whether it's for someone that needs an ASL interpreter or closed captioning. There are all these different facets of accessibility that we all need to be aware of and we all need to keep into consideration now as a presenter as we move forward to make sure, and that is who we are. Prismatic's motto is art for everyone. And to be art for everyone, you have to include everyone. And that's, and we've set that standard to who we are and what we want to do and who we want to be. And we have to make sure that we do that.
Great. I love that message. So let's take a pause. You sent along a few short video clips. Let's just get a little flavor of some of the work. And when we come back, we'll talk about what the COVID-19 pandemic has done for you this year. 1 second. There we go. That was much shorter than I was hoping it was going to. I was like, oh, let's watch it.
There's lots more. There's lots more. So that was our opening gala in Ottawa. That's Indigenous dancer JP Longboat from Ottawa.
Right.
And that is one of, I think, my favorite portions of the festival is our opening gala or our opening gathering, because that's really where it's about bringing the community together. And we've also always kind of had it in a showcase format, you know, before the International Arts Assembly, where we had, you know, various artists from various disciplines, because we all are multidisciplinary, to kind of give a taste and a teaser of what Prismatic looks like. So that was from last year.
Was that in the lobby of GCTC?
It sure was. Yes,
I
it
recognize
was.
it.
Good.
I've only been there like twice in my life, but I recognize it. Okay, so let's just check in about COVID, the pandemic, and what it's done for your organization, for your festival. What can you tell us? How has the impact been for you?
You know what? I think everyone has been impacted, especially the arts sector. I mean, you know, we both are in the same boat in that regard. But I think one of the things that was really important to us was to kind of just sit down and just think and to make plans and not to rush on anything. And two of our most guided principles that kind of frames Prismatic, which I think really came into play here, is one is we take direction from our artists. So they're the ultimate change makers. So we always keep our artists' concerns at the forefront of every decision that we make. And then the other portion of that we are guided by a principle is the race politics. So with those two principles in our mind, one of the things that we identified and noticed from, I think, you know, 250 Zoom calls later of all of us just like trying to understand what is happening, was that there was a voice. There was a voice missing from these conversations. And that voice was the voice of Indigenous artists and artists of color.
Yeah.
And so in response to this identification, you know, we do host one portion of the festival for our outreach component is something called the Talk Conference. And, you know, usually we do that during the festival. And it's, you know, kind of interwoven with all of our performances. But that was something that we thought was really important, that was something that was missing from the conversations. And we wanted to make sure that was a platform that was given to artists. So we started an online series with APA, the Atlantic Presenters Association, which we're really, really happy that we were able to partner with them on it. And it was a series called Voices We Need to Hear, Indigenous Artists of Color. So we've had 2 conversations, and they're going to be bi-weekly for the rest of the summer. The first conversation was in direct response to how are the artists feeling in this pandemic. You know, like we're all stressed out as presenters or venues, or we're all, you know, trying to figure out what is best and right for us. But what about the artists? They're the ones creating the work. Ultimately, they are the most important. We can have all these venues, but if we don't have artists creating the work, then what are venues for? So the first one was kind of just giving space to artists to talk about their successes, to talk about maybe some of the challenges or what they need moving forward. And we had really great receptive, it was receptive from all across Canada. You know, we had a lot of people tuning in from across the nation, which was great. And then, you know, as we had identified this, we decided, well, you know what, this needs to continue. So we hosted the second portion of it. And that was more, I think, talking about, the artists were talking about what they need. And then that's where it kind of came in, where, you know, all of the race politics and everything that's going on around the world right now, that was something that, okay, now, you know, outside of the COVID bracket, we need to identify moving forward what that needs to be and what that needs to look like. So, you know, we had a bunch of artists once again from across Canada come and join us for that. And we do have recordings of it. So if there's anyone out there watching that is interested in that, like, feel free, you know, to comment or let us know. I'm happy to share those because I think they're really important to be heard.
Yeah. So, actually, I was going to ask you. So, thank you for telling me already. But so, are you planning on hosting those on your website, or are they going to be just by request?
Yeah, so right now we've been sending them out to our newsletter subscribers, which you can go to our website and get access to that. And then we are also going to be putting it on our website as well.
Well, I think it'd be great to have people subscribe to your newsletter, so that they can hold the news.
Shameless right there.
Yeah, which happens to be right there. I've tuned in to some of these chats, and they are so good. And you're so much better at this job than I am for getting people to talk. So they're really, really informative and really, really interesting. So thank you for doing it. So how often over the summer do you say? Every 2 weeks?
Yeah. So our conversation is going to be a week from today on Thursday.
Right.
Be every other Thursday until the end. And once again, if you become a subscriber, you'll get that schedule. We'll also have that on our website as well and on our social media. So anywhere you're looking for information, you'll probably find it from us.
Yeah. And the one I was in, I think was about 45 minutes long. I can't remember, but
we allot an hour and 15 minutes just to make sure that we are leaving the time. But yeah, they have seemingly been around an hour long.
Okay.
And the way we formatted it for the past 2 conversations was just to have the artists introduce themselves and just talk about what they wanted to talk about. And then we open it up to anyone who's on the call. As you say here, ask Raeesa a question. That's what we do. We prompt for any questions so that artists can specifically address whatever they want, whatever being asked or what needs to be heard.
So let's talk about you for a little bit, because we've heard a lot about the festival, and we'll talk more. And it's so exciting to hear you talk about it, and you are clearly enthused and excited by your work with Prismatic, which is fantastic, and you make us excited. So how did you come to be involved with this company, with the festival?
It's been an incredible journey. It's been a very quick journey too, actually. So I'm from Calgary, Alberta, and I moved to Halifax to study here at Dalhousie University on a volleyball scholarship. And then I did my master's at the University of King's College after. And in my first year, I took a bunch of acting classes and, was studying a lot of theater. And I made a friend in the class who happened, but fast forward 6 years later, to be the producer of the Prismatic Arts Festival. So we were Facebook friends. And Prismatic had posted, this was when they were at Alderney, had posted a job posting for a marketing and communications position. And I was like, well, that sounds like exactly what I want to do. And growing up, I had always been in the arts, singing and acting. And I don't think I can add dancing to the list. We'll say dancing, but I'll go with acting and playing the piano a bit more than the dancing. And so I grew up just a lover of the arts and always performing and always being on stage. And then I kind of shifted into sporty Raeesa and became super into volleyball, and that kind of brought me out east. And, I had a tough decision to make, actually. Sue LeBlanc was my teacher from Zupa, well, still with Zupa Theatre, but from Zupa. I had auditioned for the acting program, and she was like, well, Raeesa, you're going to have to make a decision. It's either acting program or playing volleyball, because once we get rehearsals in 3rd and 4th year, you got to pick one or the other. Whereas in high school, I could do it all, which was exciting. So it was a tough decision to make, but I had come out on a volleyball scholarship for volleyball, so I decided to go with that path. And then when I saw the position with Prismatic, it was almost like I could come back to this part of me that I had left behind for a few years. And I'd never really considered the arts administrative side of it, because I was always thinking about performing. And as I started doing that, and I started seeing all these talented artists, like even when you're saying you're going to play a video, like I get so giddy when I see all these performances, because just the talent and the people out there, like it just resonates with me so much. And so I started just working part-time with the festival. After some hard work and some camaraderie between our team, I became the producer. And then this year, I'm the incoming artistic director of the festival and programming this year. So it's been an incredible journey. I'm very, very happy to be a part of it. And it's a new path that I never necessarily put out for myself, but has been the most fulfilling path I've had so far.
Yeah. Well, I think you're doing a fantastic job with it. Am I right in thinking that I would have seen you mentioned sports.
Mhm.
Would I have seen you doing like sports interviews
Yes.
on the television or on the internet? What's that about?
So and that's fine. You are good. You're a little journalist, you. So I did journalism at the University of King's College. I did my master's of journalism there,
Yeah.
and I became a sports reporter. That's what I was doing.
Right.
I was a broadcast anchor. I had a couple TV shows, Champions Untold, and I was the host of Inside the AUS. And I was a sideline reporter for multiple sports across the Atlantic provinces, but with the nature of sport, that's usually evenings and weekends. And as you can probably tell, I'm very high energy, so I needed something to keep me busy during the day. And that's where I found the part-time marketing and communications position. So it was like perfect. It was like, I'm a sports reporter. I can do this part-time. And then Prismatic just like totally encompassed me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, no, I always thought I wanted to be a broadcast anchor and I wanted to be a journalist and I wanted to be on TV. And I did it. I did it for like, I think 4 or 5 years, and it was incredible. But when I came to Prismatic, that just like invigorated a new career path that I didn't know I wanted. And now I'm just like living for it.
Yeah. I was very excited when you sent along some videos today because you included one that features Dinuk Gujaratni.
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan of Dinuk. So I did an event with him a little while ago. So I got to watch him work with an orchestra, with a youth orchestra up close for an evening. And it was quite inspiring. So let's just take a look at this little clip that you sent along and then we'll come back in a second. Oh, I wanted more. I wanted more.
I'll have to send you the full-length videos out.
Send me the video. So that was in the library here in Halifax, wasn't it?
Yes. So that was also last year's festival.
Right.
That was at the Halifax Central Library at Paul O'Regan Hall. And one of the reasons I wanted to send that clip, and I haven't fact-checked, as a trained journalist, I don't want to make a statement that I'm not 100% on. But the way, if you notice the way Dinuk was playing the piano there, he was actually playing the strings.
Yes.
Playing the keys. And Shaheen and I were actually just chatting about it the other day. And I think he is one of the only pianists in the world that still plays the piano like that and can play it to the level and ability that he does. He is so incredibly talented. And he has been with the Prismatic Festival I believe since the inception of the festival. He's performed multiple times at the festival. So he's Prismatic family for sure. And he's played at the Carnegie Hall. Like, he is one of the most talented pianists out there, and he works with the Nova Scotia Youth Orchestra here, as you were saying. And he's just such a pleasure.
Yeah.
Such a pleasure to have on the stage and to just be in his world of music. And he's written.
I found his energy and his exuberance quite exhilarating.
Yeah.
And to actually watch him work with the orchestra, well, in a performance environment, but to see their respect and love for him, and they were all sitting there going, yeah, we got to work with him.
Yeah, like that.
So it was cool. So I was very blessed as the artistic director of Neptune Theatre that you and I could meet late last year and cook up a little plan to get the festival in some way back into the Neptune building. Long overdue, I will say.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we partnered. So tell me a little bit about that from your perspective. I could talk about it from my perspective, but
I do want to hear your perspective. I'll question you after.
Okay, fine.
The big one for us, like I said, Prismatic started at Neptune. That holds a lot of weight and a lot of merit. And like I said, one of the principles that guides what Prismatic's mandate and mission is to give Indigenous artists and artists of color, or artists that have not traditionally had the opportunities to be on those main stages, to be on the best stages in the city, to be under the best lights, to have the best tech work with them. They are talented. They're just as talented as many other artists. And I think just having the opportunity to be able to do that for our artists is why we do it and what we're doing. And then, you know, I think just even for us, like one of my principles coming in as the artistic director is I really want to work with all of the other organizations in the city. I think co-presentations and us working together rather than competing against each other toward the common goal is so unbelievably important. So, you know, even just like being able to have that conversation with you and having two parties that are open to that conversation. Like, I don't know what it's been like before. I can garner some thoughts that maybe hasn't been that easy and it hasn't been as easy as a road for a lot of people. But I think that's so important moving forward, that we need to empower each other and we need to all work together to make sure that there is, you know, diversity across all stages.
Yes.
And to make sure that all artists are represented.
I know that, you know, we spoke originally, I think actually, you, I hope Shaheen's not watching or Maggie's not watching now, but I think you quietly let me know what the future was going to hold for you when you found out. We were having a chat, and that,
you know, I thought it was important. I thought it was important to, you know, say that like this is something that's real. It's not just me coming and being like, we want to partner with Neptune and we want to be on your stages, and you know, it's never about the money. It's not about the finances. It's about the relationship building.
Right. And I think what I took away from that is, you know, you sowed a seed, and I was like, yeah, okay, we need to do this. We need to be, as an organization, we need to be partnering with you, because, you know, the festival knows what it's doing. And we need to grow, and we need to learn and work with you to make our space available for these voices. So I was thrilled that we were able to come together, and then we announced the season on February the 14th this year. Who knew that just a few short weeks later, the whole world would be shutting down? So right now, as you know, and for everyone watching, we're in that holding pattern now, like most arts organizations, working out where to go, what to do, and when we can do it, when we're told we can do it. But Raeesa, our partnership is strong, and you know, we will continue to work together in bringing those shows to our audiences. You mentioned the importance for the artists. I will also just add that for me as well, it's bringing that those art forms, those stories that maybe some of our audience are not used to hearing, seeing, experiencing, feeling, bringing those stories to our stages to enrich our lives as audience members. So yes, it's really important for the artists to feel valued and welcome to our stages. But I think it's really important for our audience, and now more than ever, to open their eyes to those stories and to welcome them into their hearts. So I'm really excited by the fact that, you know, we're getting to plan this and work together. And like I said, long overdue.
Now.
What's that?
For many years to come. We have it on tape now.
Okay, we got it on tape. I'll sign a napkin. I'll sign a napkin. I just want to check. Oh, we got a Scott. It's okay. You can watch it. You can watch it tomorrow morning, or even immediately we come off the air. And Maggie, you know what I should have done? As soon as we went live, and I brought up the pictures earlier, I should have done what I've done with a few shows and totally tricked you and had Maggie and Shaheen pop on as a surprise for you.
Loved that.
I totally missed a chance. So we'll have you all on at some point in the future. So but thanks for watching, Maggie and Shaheen. I hope you're doing well. I guess I can't really ask them. Oh, I can't really ask them directly because we'll have to wait for the answer. But they're in LA right now.
Yeah. So I think, you know, Shaheen and Maggie have done such an incredible job creating, you know, this festival. But one of the most important things for Shaheen and the intention behind all of it is to be able to create his work. And like I said, you know, Maggie's a lawyer, so she's one of the most brilliant minds I've ever met. Has really helped grow this festival and is such a tribute to all of the success that it has been. But they also, you know, they have a family, they have their lives. Shaheen wants to create. That's what he does. He's, you know, actor, a performer. He does cinematography. How do you say it? Scenography. There we go. Got it.
Yeah. Will I bring up that picture right now, or do you think it will annoy him?
I don't know. I guess it's right.
I'm gonna take the blame.
Beautiful.
I went on the One Light Facebook page. This photo was not sent to me, but it was in the public domain. This is a great photo as well.
Oh my goodness. So Ashek, that is one of my most favorite moments that I think I've had so far with the organizations.
Yeah.
So I have also done a little bit of work with One Light Theatre just as a contractor, and I got to learn how to run Q Lab, and I got to be in a space with Shaheen for rehearsals, and, you know, be in that creative process with him. And that's why I was saying, you know, he's creating work, and that is what's so important and what fuels him and what he wants to do. And I've been in the spaces with him when he does it, and it's magic. Like, that picture is magic. The whole process is magic, being a part of that. And so Ashek was, it's the newest show from One Light Theatre. And it was performed at Prismatic for a couple of years, once in Halifax, once in Ottawa. And I got to run the show and do all the cues, and it was super cool. And I've been learning so much, and I think that's the thing that's been, you know, so excited with this journey, is I've been taken in, you know, as a family member of Prismatic, and I've been able to learn and be just thrown into the sector. And now I get to take my own perspective and be able to let that flourish and give back as well. So it's been an incredible journey.
Where you have an office, because we spoke earlier today and you were outside the office. You just welcomed some new staff members, and you were giving them a break from you telling them what to do. What I understood from what you said. And come and talk to me just to prep for tonight. But where are you? Where is the office now?
So our office is in Bedford.
Okay.
It's just right off of the Bedford Highway, and it's such a lovely space. It's, you know, it's kind of just like secluded, and it's got just such an incredible energy in there. And actually, as you mentioned, we have been so fortunate that we, you know, in the midst of all this pandemic, where we're seeing a lot of negativity, or we're seeing a lot of hardships across the sectors, we actually just hired 3 youth. So three people to come and work and be a part of this Prismatic for Prismatic 2020, which we're working towards Prismatic 2020, and we've, you know, created a lot of different outlooks of what that's going to look like. But we're doing the festival. We're doing it, and we're super excited to do it. And now we get to give the opportunity, similar to how I started with the festival, to people to, you know, grow with us and to experience what it's like to be a part of the organization.
Amazing. I think we're actually neighbors then, because I am currently in my basement just off the Bedford Highway. So yeah. We'll come by and borrow a cup of sugar at some point.
Yeah, that's great.
It's been fantastic to talk to you. I want to just play another clip. Not because I don't want to talk to you, but because I want to play another clip. Here we go. This is Tribe Called Red, I think. Here we go.
Like, how epic is that?
That was pretty epic. Was that at Alderney?
Yeah, so that was at our 2014 festival.
Yeah.
That was called Red at Alderney Landing, and like, what a beautiful, perfect venue for that. It was, I think it was kind of one of like the most hype nights and performances that we've had. It was awesome.
Fantastic. We're coming to the end of our time, Raeesa. Thank you so much for being here. Just hang tight for a second. I just want to take a second to thank Support for Culture for their ongoing love and support of this show, and for all members of the arts community. They really stepped up and helped us with this, and we thank them. I want to thank everybody for watching. Next week on Thursday, I get to chat with artist, set designer, bon vivant, amazing friend, John Dinning. If you've seen some of the sets coming out of Neptune over the last few years, for example, the set for Noises Off, which was an engineering feat like I've never seen, and the set for Calendar Girls, which was beautiful and is actually still on the Neptune stage where we left it, where it closed after only 12 performances due to the pandemic. We'll be talking to him then. In fact, I've just had the crazy idea of trying to do the show next week from the stage and from his set. That would be amazing. Don't tell John Dinning I'm going to do that. Anyone? Don't mention it to John. Raeesa, it's fantastic to talk to you. I want to remind everyone that they should go to prismaticfestival.com to find out what you're up to, what you've been up to over the years, and what's coming up, and to stay in touch with you so that they can find out what's coming for the festival this year and in future years. I wish you so much joy with it. And the other thing, of course, is to find out more and to tune in and get on that mailing list to follow for the voices we need to hear. Is there anything that you'd like to say to our viewing public as we wave goodbye to them?
Yeah, well, thank you so much for tuning in if you did. And, we hope you come and check out the Prismatic Arts Festival and come to Neptune for the 2 shows that we're doing together. We're super excited, and they're really incredible. They are really, really, really incredible shows. And I urge you not to miss them. I mean, we had Cliff Cardinals CBC special in Ottawa last year, and you are going to go on an emotional journey that you can't prepare for, and it is worth every millisecond of it. He's so incredibly talented. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much. 42 minutes goes by pretty quick.
Oh, I know. We could have talked for another 20 minutes easy. Thanks for watching. So, folks, I will see you next Thursday. Raeesa, stay exactly where you are, and so we can chat once we're off camera. But thanks so much for watching, everyone. See you next week.
Bye.